Good evening, parents, and thank you all for joining us on this lovely evening to discuss your child's return back to the academy from Monday. Presenting tonight will be myself, Mr. Leader, Vice Principal for Personal Development and Wellbeing, and Mr. Rashid will talk about teaching and learning. There is a question and answer box if you would like to ask any questions. There'll be opportunity at the end of the presentation to go through some of your questions. Okay, so we are going to record this event this evening and we will send a link out for any parents who couldn't make the presentation. So thank you, Miss. So I'm delighted that all the students are back from Monday. I think it's absolutely fitting that our students now have had a lot of time at home doing their online lessons, and I want to thank each and every one of you for all the wonderful support that you've provided to your children, but also to all the staff in the academy. It's been lovely when it's been tough. It's been lovely having so many positive messages from you. It makes a big difference, and I've been sharing those positive messages with staff every Friday in our briefing. So if we go to next week on Monday, what we've got here is the start times for each year group. So on Monday at 8:20, we would like all year 11 students to return back to school. At 11 o'clock on Monday, that's the start time for year 10. So we want all year 10s to arrive at 11 o'clock. While year 11s and year 10s are in school that day, work will be set for years 7, 8 and 9, and Mr. Rashid will talk a lot more about what provision we will be putting in place for your son and daughter while they're still at home. On Tuesday, all year 7s return at 8:20, followed by 11 o'clock, year 8, and then on Wednesday, all year 9 return. So by Wednesday, we've got all the students back in the academy. And I'm really delighted. The staff had met with staff this afternoon. We've got a big staff meeting on Friday, and we are delighted. We think it's a real positive that students will be back in school. What will happen is when they return, they'll first of all have their roll call, and then they will have an assembly. And what we will do, myself and Mr. Leader and other members of the senior team, we will go through expectations, just familiarise ourselves with being back in school together, just because we're aware that since December it's been a long time for students. So just being used to being in the building and the routines and their timetable, we'll print all their new timetables out so that they feel comfortable. And it's also an opportunity for the tutor to pick up any issues, whether a student might be feeling a little bit anxious about being back. I mean, most of the students are delighted, but it is normal that because they've spent so much time at home, they may just need that extra bit of support. Then they will all go to their normal lessons. So after they've had their tutor, the next lessons, they just follow the timetable. However, what will happen in the first 2 lessons, once they're back in the academy, is those parents that have signed up to have their child tested, they will then be called out for their lateral flow device test. So that's a great opportunity then for students to be tested. And I'll talk more about the testing procedure as we go through this presentation. Thanks, Miss. So if we're then looking at next week and talking about the COVID testing, the first thing to say is we need consent. And up to this point this afternoon, we'd had, thank you for being so prompt, because we'd had over 400 parents agreeing to have their child tested. That's really good. All the testing is carried out by staff, and they've all been trained in the testing. And Mr. Rashid, we sent a little clip with Mr. Rashid explaining that process and showing you the testing site. What I will say is my students have been absolutely brilliant. I didn't know when we first started this back in January if some of the students would be anxious about it, but they've been absolutely fantastic. So they will have 3 tests whilst in the next 2 weeks when they come back, and all those tests will be supervised. We will then send you a communication via an email of whether your son or daughter has been tested positive or negative. So again, that you will receive prompt feedback on that. What we will then do is we will then issue your son or daughter with a home testing kit. And the home testing kit, really, that's the purpose of doing the 3 tests in school, because once the students are comfortable testing themselves, then the home testing kit is very, very similar. Okay, we can only test students 3 times in school. And again, so for today, for example, we had 1 student that was asymptomatic that tested positive. And since that's only the 2nd student since January, so the numbers of cases in students has been really, really low, which is a positive. It shows that the lockdown is having an impact. If a child is positive, then we do need to contact you and let you know, and they have to isolate for 10 days. We will then look at all our class lists. We'll speak to your son or daughter and get a list of all their contacts, because then those students also need to isolate for 10 days. If after 3 days a contact develops symptoms, then that then starts as day 1, and they would have to then isolate for a following 10 days. So it's really important that we communicate. And I will say, parents, all the way through since we returned back in September, whenever we had positive cases in school, the communication between ourselves and you as parents was great. And really, lots and lots of parents would also let us know if their child had developed symptoms and they'd had a test outside in the community. So again, we know that our systems are really tight, and it's down to effective communication between us, and I want that to continue. So in terms of track and trace, we will let Salford Local Authority know, and we would let you know. So please, if you haven't sent your consent form, I can only reassure you that it's very, very simple test. It's not invasive, and that students, my year 7s, who at the time I thought might have an issue, they were brilliant. So honestly, all the students in school, and what we have found is that when parents didn't sign up for it, once the students had talked to each other and realised it was fine, then we got more and more parents and students signing up to have the test. Thank you, Miss. So it's a real positive, and teachers have also been tested twice a week. In terms of COVID, I've written all the details into our risk assessment, and this is on our website. So again, if as a parent you want to see, well, what does it involve and how will the community communication be between us and the school, then please make sure that you check that out, because that risk assessment has been updated. There is a one-way system in place in the testing site. So as students entered, they will be supervised by their inclusion leader, their year leader, and they will take them. And then we've got face masks, sanitisers, we have cleaners on site that clean in between it. So again, our system works, and it's been very effective. I've already shared that you will receive a call if your son or daughter, because it's very quick, we know within about 10 minutes of them having a test, you will receive a call from one of the staff if that test is positive. So we'll always make sure that you are fully informed. Okay, I then think by the time they've had 3 tests, they'll feel more confident at doing the home testing kits. Consent has been sent home, and if you haven't received an email about consent, can you please email inquiries@salfordcity-academy.org, and we will make sure that you have that electronic consent form sent to you before your son or daughter returns next week. Okay, so if there's any questions about that COVID testing, then please put them in the chat, or again, email us at inquiries, because we check that email very regularly each day. Thank you, Miss. So what next? Well, if we take, and I'm sure if you're a parent here of a year 11 student, and obviously with the announcement from the government and Ofqual, you will be wanting to know exactly what the school is doing about your son or daughter's GCSE grades. What I will say is we are having another meeting like this just for Year 11 parents on the 18th of March, and I will be able to update you more. But what I can share with you is that those GCSE grades will be determined by teachers, curriculum leaders in the school, and I will meet with every single curriculum leader and go through with Mr. Leader every grade for every student in every subject. However, and I want to say this really importantly, we can only award grades if we have the evidence for those grades. I can't just take grades from primary, what they achieved in Key Stage 2. It has to be hard evidence. So we know we've done mock exams back in November. We know we've got work from students that they've done in class, and we are going to set another assessment. At the moment, the provisional date I have for that is the week beginning the 26th of April. So again, what I will say to you if you're parents is obviously we are going to meet with Year 11s when they come back in next week. We want Year 11s to know that they have to continue working right the way up till those grades have to be entered, which is mid-June, towards the end of June. So we need to make sure that any assignments, assessment, BTEC exams, any assessments that we do in school from now on, that the students are completing them to the best of their ability. And because we went through a similar process last year, our staff are very, very experienced and confident. But what I will say is that this year there is going to be an increased level of moderation from the exam board. So the exam board may want to sample assessments in Salford City Academy from a range of subjects and a range of students to make sure that we are being honest, transparent and fair when we award grades. So parents of Year 11, I will give you more detail about that on the 18th of March and go through what the next steps are, but it's really important. We will support your son and daughter to get the best of them that they can. We've got interventions, we will host some extra classes maybe during Easter, but we do need your son and daughter to work as hard as they possibly can. I cannot emphasize enough that when the results day comes on the 10th of August, we want students not to be surprised by the grades that they have been given. Okay, and following on from that, we have college and apprenticeship applications. I notice apprenticeship spelt wrong there, apologies for that, but we have college and apprenticeship applications, and Miss Rigby has been meeting with Year 11 students last week. Again, really important that your son or daughter has a place and knows what they want to do once they leave Salford City Academy. So if there are any of you where your son and daughter has not applied yet or is unsure, then please contact inquiries and Mrs. Monks will get in touch with you and arrange a meeting to discuss your son and daughter's next steps. Thank you, Miss. So if you're a parent in years 7 to 10, you'll be wanting to know as well what happens. Well, what we as teachers, we've had excellent engagement. I mean, when I look at our students and my staff and just how much effort has gone into teaching live lessons.
Mrs. Hazelton, we lost you, got it?
Yeah, I'm back again. Sorry, I don't know whether that was my connection there. So we know that staff have been working hard. We know our students have been working hard and we've been sending the rewards for those and that's great. But we need to know what students have been able to retain and learn. So during the first 2 weeks, we are going to set some assessments. In 7, 8 and 9, they will be English and maths assessments. And in years 10, we're going to set assessments in all their subjects. And that will allow us to identify any gaps in their knowledge so that we can then plan our curriculum to make sure that we can reteach some topics and provide your son and daughter with the best provision so that they don't fall behind, because we, again, we want these positive messages for students, but we need to know where the students are in terms of their academic learning, and that's why we're going to do those assessments. We will also do some reading assessments, because reading is so important for their development and their understanding, and as they move into GCSEs, that we want to make sure what their reading ages are and if they've made progress, or indeed some students might have gone back in their reading. So we need to know where students are in terms of their reading scores. So we will be doing some reading provision. We are going to do some catch up, and all the data that we get from the assessments will enable us to plan that catch-up curriculum, and we will share that with you in terms of your son and daughter. If we think they need some catch-up provision, we will actually identify those needs, and we will share with you what the provision is in place. As well as academic progress and reading progress, myself, Mr. Leader, the pastoral team, all the staff are very, very keen that our students feel really happy about coming back into school. Many of them have missed their friends, their day might have felt very different, and so what we want to make sure is that we identify any student that's struggling, is vulnerable, or feels just a bit emotional about being back, or actually is delighted they want to come back. And as well as, saying, oh, welcome back, and now here you've got an assessment, we want to make sure that the day itself feels as positive as we can. So we have planned in an enrichment day for Tuesday, the 30th of March, the day before we break for Easter, and that is focused on that resilience and positivity and teamwork. So again, those rewards and making students feel happy about being in school, that we're going to have a high focus on that. Mrs. Dawson, who's my SENCO, and if you're a parent of a SEN child and you know that they're vulnerable, we're going to put in this week, there's some extra meetings for you to discuss your child's return to school. So again, we want to make sure that every single student, regardless of ability or profile, feels happy about coming back to school. We want a school of happy students that are pleased to be back. And the pastoral team, and I have to say, perhaps it's because I'm the head teacher, I'm really, really proud of my pastoral team. The phone calls they've made, the home visits, the reward trips, everything that they've done, the sending out of praise cards. They will continually monitor every single student to check that they're doing fine. So parents, please rest assured that we want our students back. We think it's right for them to come back now, and we will look after them. We are a very caring school, and as well as looking after their academic progress, we want them back in the building. It's not been the same without them, and we want them back. Okay. So if you've got any questions from me about any return, then please pop that in the chat and in the question and answer session, and then I'll come back on after Mr. Leader and Mr. Rashid. Okay, thanks, Miss.
Okay, evening parents. Unfortunately, my camera isn't working, but that might be fortunate for some of you having to look at me. So I think you probably got the good end of this deal here. OK, so I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes about what lessons will look like when students return to the academy. And I'm going to talk to you about how you can support your child at home as well. OK, now just before I do start, just to let you know that on Monday and Tuesday, when we have the staggered start back to school, back to lessons, students that are at home will still be able to take part in their live lessons. So for example, when years 10 and year 11s come back on Monday, the year 7s, 8s and 9s at home can still take part in their live lessons. That will mean that teachers will invite students, like that's happening at the moment, and then students will be able to see their teachers remotely and take part in the lesson. Also, and I'll come on to this a bit later in my presentation, is if your child has to isolate, because I'm just seeing some questions in the chat then the parents have posed about what happens if my child isolates, I will share that information with you too. Okay, So to start off, Mrs. Barker, if you could just put the headings up for the icons. So equipment is going to be really important when children are coming back to school. So it's been a while since we're in the academy, so they're going to need to dust off their pencil cases and come prepared with everything that was part of the equipment list that was issued in September. So they're going to need pens, pencils, rulers to write the rulers as well. They're also going to need a calculator, and importantly, one thing we're adding to this now is a glue stick. Previously, we've been providing glue sticks, but because we don't want to cross things over and use them between students, we want students to bring their own glue stick. You can buy those at any supermarkets relatively cheaply, and we're also selling them at school as well from pupil services. They can be bought there. My recommendation is for students to come prepared with them next week, so just have the week or so to get them now. Okay. Also, something that would be really useful is we know students have been fantastic during this lockdown and engaging with their lessons and attending the live lessons. So we know everybody knows how to use Microsoft Teams. So what we're saying to all students now is ready for when they return, please can they have the Microsoft Teams app uploaded, it's free, onto their phone. Okay, so when we set homework as we return, they can see instantly on their phone and what homework is due when. And they can use their devices at home as well to support that, but it's easier when it's just on the phone as well. They can use it like a diary to see what's been set by the teachers and when it's due. Now the next thing we're really keen, and Miss Husband spoke about this a few moments ago, is positivity. We want to make it a really positive experience for students returning to the academy. They have been excellent when they were at home in their live lessons, and we want to continue that on. We want to continue that positivity, that excellence, and we want to make sure we're celebrating and we're looking when they come back at what do they know, what can we build on, and how can we get them participating in their lessons, how can we make them engaging and interactive for the students. And we're really excited and looking forward to having students back and having that dynamic learning environment. In terms of assessment, tied in with the positivity, we're not going to get students back in that very first lesson then start doing tests in every single subject, because that would then, we think, negate that positivity. We want students to come back, to enjoy their learning, to enjoy coming to school. We want them to come home tired. Okay, so when they come home to you in an evening, you might be thanking us that we've tired them out all day, that they're having to work hard and do lots of thinking, so they just want to get home and relax. So we want them to do a lot of work. We want to challenge them and succeed. So we're not going to just launch straight in to doing tests in every lesson. We'll stagger them, and we've really carefully planned them so they do them in their core subjects first, so in maths and English, and then we'll build in assessments over the next forthcoming weeks. And we're doing that so we can see where students are up to, what they have learned when they've been during lockdown, and then that helps teachers plan what they're going to teach next with the students. And we'll do that every day in lessons, not just in a formal test that you and I might think of when we're at school or filling in something on paper, but the way we ask questions in lessons, by doing mini quizzes, by the teacher circulating the room and checking the students what they've done and supporting them, and also by us teachers looking at students' books and the work they've produced and sharing that with other students. So it's, again, a really positive experience of doing well and succeeding in school. And then finally, something you've probably heard of the word, but in a school context, interleaving. And what that is we recognise that it'll be a good idea to be checking what students have done when they were in lockdown, but also before lockdown when they were at school. There's lots of academic research out there, and we have some excellent members of staff who are really up to date with their research that they're doing on teaching and learning and how students best succeed. And this is common across all schools, and it's really good practice to go back and be checking on what students know and doing informal tests with them on lessons that they've done the week before, or a couple of weeks before, or even a month before, or even from before Christmas. And by doing that, it embeds what students know in their long-term memory. So we will be doing lots of that in lessons. We'll be stopping lessons partway through to do little mini quizzes, and we'll all be doing it in a fun and engaging and interactive way. And we'll also be starting every lesson with little quiz questions about what students did before in the previous lesson, and what they did in previous lessons prior to that. We'll also as well be providing all students with a full complement of knowledge organisers. So what that means is each student will have a booklet, and there'll be, for every topic they've studied in each subject, there will be a fact sheet on that topic. For example, if I was teaching volcanoes in geography, there would be a volcanoes fact sheet, and students can use those to revise for assessments or to read over work that they've done before. Thank you, Mrs. Barker. If you move to the next one. Now, in terms of what your child should do if they are isolating, because when they're back in school, the arrangements that I've just run through will take place. But if your child has to isolate because they have a case of COVID or they're a contact, then exactly the same process will take place as has happened from January to now during lockdown. Students will be able to access their lessons by remotely logging into them. So what students will do is they should be logged on ready onto their Microsoft Teams account, just like if they're in lockdown, and then their teacher from their lesson will call them so they can see all the resources from the lesson. They can follow the PowerPoint as the teacher goes through it, and they can also ask questions and answer questions by the chat. And that's a little bit different to how we did it before Christmas, because before Christmas we provided different activities and tasks for students to do, but we think this way is even better. It's more interactive for students at home. They can see their teachers and they can actually take part in the lessons. Now, if your child was ever in this situation, if you go to the school website, just where I've shown you on the screen, where the red box is, if you click on the icon there, there is all the instructions you need. It talks to students step by step exactly what to do so that when they're ready for their lessons. And if I give you an example, if I was a student in year 9 and I was isolating next Thursday, I would just go on the same. I would log on to my Microsoft Teams account. I would be ready at 8:30 for tutor period, and I would sign into each one of my lessons as if it was during lockdown and I could take part in them. And I should also do my homework too. Thank you, Miss. Next slide, please. Okay, now just before I pass to Mr. Leader, again, I want to just continue what Miss Hazelden said about reading. Okay, if I was to give you 2 tips on supporting your child in this transition coming back to school, the first one would be to make sure that they have the Microsoft Teams app on their phone. That will allow them to access their homework and to keep up to date with things. And also what we're going to be able to do in a few weeks' time is email you directly with the work that they've been set. We're just being mindful at the moment that when students return, we won't set them with a piece of homework in every single lesson in the first couple of days, because that's not, it's not fair. We want them to come back and we want them to settle into school, and then we will start to use homework. Okay, so make sure the Microsoft Teams app is on their phone. And then secondly is reading. Students in years 7, 8, 9 and 10 can access MyOn, where there's lots of free books. Every student has an account and every student has been shown how to use it in their lessons. So I would recommend them reading using MyOn. There's lots of books that they can access, and when they do, it gives them recommended books for their reading level. Reading isn't restricted to MyOn. If your child, we found that older children in years 10 and year 11, they prefer to read some of the books of their own choice, and they're not necessarily all of the texts on MyOn are suitable for them. So advice could be just going on to Amazon and asking them of any particular books that they want, and buying a book from Amazon, or any bookshop. Supermarkets have lots of really good books too. We really advocate reading. If your child can allocate a little bit of time during the week to read, it will make a massive difference to how well they do. Even in the case if you think of maths and you don't associate maths as a subject with reading extensively, but to access the maths questions in a GCSE exam, you need a reading age of over 15. So reading fiction and non-fiction helps students so that they can read the question, process it and do well and succeed. So my 2 bits of real key advice there are the Teams app on the phone and really read. Okay, if your child's going from not doing much reading at home, don't try and make them read for 2 hours every night. Introduce it slowly, a couple of times a week, and get them the joy of reading as well too, which will be really good for their well-being and help them relax as they approach examinations and things in later life. Okay, that's me finished. I will answer any questions now in the chat, and I'll just pass over now to Mr. Leader.
Mr. Leader, you're live.
And I'm also muted, standard. Always the case. There we go. Anyway, I don't think I've done one of these live events without doing that. Anyway, right, I finished the whole sentence up there before. Right, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. So students returning back to school, we can't wait for it. We're really excited. We've had a great staff meeting this afternoon about students returning. We've done a couple of assemblies to year 11 and 10 this morning as well about returning to school, and it you know, there's a real buzz of excitement amongst the staff and the students about returning to school. It's been a long time, and we want to get back into the swing of things. The students have been absolutely fantastic, learning from home and accessing online learning, and we need to keep that going now when we've gotten back to face-to-face teaching, which is, you know, there's nothing better than that is done, and interacting with the teachers and interacting with the peers as well. So school reopens next week. We're operating as normal. It's normal operating, normal systems are in place. You know, if you've got any concerns or anything like that, please get in touch with yourself at school or one of the inclusion leaders. It is full school uniform. And now I know that there may be some issues around getting shoes or stuff like that. We have bought in an absolute shed load of shoes and uniform to make sure that we can provide them for students on a loan basis, or you can buy them from us. We don't mind. We just want to make sure we take away any of the issues or potential problems so that we can continue in you know, running with high expectations of our students and keep it as normal as possible. So that's with full school uniform. The only slight change to full school uniform is that hoodies, we're banning hoodies because the students tend to wear them under the blazer. It's creating a lot of problems, and they're just, when they're wearing them as a coat as well, they're getting absolutely soaked through and still very wet throughout the day. So hoodies are banned, and if the child brings in a hoodie, their inclusion leader will take the hoodie off them and put them in their office for the remainder of the day. If they feel like they're cold, jumpers that school parents can purchase from us, or if they need a coat, and wear a big proper waterproof coat to keep them warm and keep them dry. So that's full school uniform. That'll be checked during roll call, and in that first week we're going to remove any of the barriers, any of the concerns, and use our stash of uniform that we've got in. It's all brand new, so if there's any concerns, we will sort that out, and just get in touch with us if you have any concerns leading up to that. Please get in touch with us at school and we can address any of them issues for you. Attendance and punctuality. Attendance is compulsory. The only people that shouldn't be returning to school are those that are isolating or that have had a shielding letter. And if you do get a shielding letter, or your child has got a shielding letter, then you need to contact school and let us know, so that we can process that, and we've got a copy of that on our records and we can code accordingly. And like Mr. Rashid has said, that anybody that is isolating or shielding will have full access to the full curriculum, to their full lessons as normal through Teams, and staff have had that first bit of training on that, with some more to come on Friday, ready for next week, with teaching students in lesson and also broadcasting the lesson to students that may well be isolating at home. Punctuality is important. I always say to the students that punctuality is a skill, and a very important skill that you would want to put down on any application form, whether it be as an apprenticeship or a job or a college. It's always good to be punctual. And when we interview, I'm always looking to see who's arrived first, who's arrived time, who's rushing around. So really important skill, and to ensure that students arrive on time. So gates open at 8 o'clock. For students, it will still be, I know there's been a couple of questions, will we still have a staggered start and staggered finish? Yes, we will. Other than the first 2 days, we are then going back to a normal operating day as it was before Christmas. So there will be a staggered start with 7s, 10s and 11s in at 8:20, and the 8s and 9s in at 8:40, and the staggered finish to the day will start at 2:50, and we will stagger that finish. So that will be normal operating procedures after the first 2 days have got away with the staggered starts and that. As I mentioned, it's high expectations at the time. We will operate our normal behaviour policy, our normal attendance policy, everything. We have very high standards that we has been able to transform the school into one of the best performing schools in Salford. I mean, just recently we've had an external job application out, and over 40 applicants for that role. It just shows how well the school is progressing, and our sort of stature in outside of the area and within the area for applicants that were applying from other Salford schools. They know how good this school is. There's people that want to come and work here, and again, just to give you a bit of an update with applications for year 7. Last year we had a record number of applicants. This year we've smashed that record. We had over 241 applicants for 180 places. It'll be our biggest waiting list ever. So the reason why we have them high standards and high expectations is that so that the reputation of the academy grows and we get the best out of students and give them the best possible future. I said to students this morning, yes, we want them to leave with fantastic GCSE results, but also leave as good citizens, and also the most employable people in a market that's going to be very competitive over the next few years. Speaking to the careers advisor the other day, for this year, apprenticeships have been slashed by over 1/3. So it is a very competitive market, and that's why again we have them high expectations and standards around school. But with that, we do have that very nurturing approach and that fantastic support around students regarding inclusion, and particularly well-being. We will be putting and have put on a lot of support for well-being of students during this lockdown, and will continue to monitor students and support them through lockdown, through returning to school. If you've got any concerns with your child returning to school or a little bit worried about them, please get in touch with them at school. I know that the SEND department and also the inclusion leaders have been identifying students for extra support during this week. Some of the students are coming in this week, some of them are having one-to-one meetings, some of them have had a home visit. So we're just getting ready to return them to school. If you feel like your child will benefit from that, please get in contact with us at school, and we'll support you as much as we possibly can. The week commencing the 22nd of March, we're planning a bit of a well-being week in tutor times to help to really educate students around well-being and looking after their well-being and what is good well-being. There'll be assemblies, activities in tutor time, and I also got the online counselling service COOF hopefully coming in to deliver some support to students that week to help them as well. So lots going on, and as I say, if you need any support for your children, then please get in touch with us at school. And then just finally on that, before I move on to something else, I've spent students, and I've probably mentioned, you might have heard me on assemblies this morning, is ignore the noise. There's a lot of noise in the media around students. Please ignore that noise. Please ignore the media and what they're saying about students and how much they've missed. We're going to be very, very positive when they come to school. We've got a fantastic group of staff that will make sure that students return safely, positively, and get straight back on track and this, you know, that they will have missed loads will easily be caught up. You know, if students come in and they work hard with the staff, work with the staff, there will not be a problem at all. So real positive messages coming from us as a staff, as an academy. Please reinforce that, then positive messages to the students as well at home, that do not worry, we've got their back, we will support them, and we will get them right back up to speed in no time at all. Yes, please, Miss, just on to the next one. So yes, new school uniform. So I sent out a letter the other week, and I've had plenty of phone calls and feedback from parents on this, and I appreciate that. And it's been good to get a bit of parental voice around it as well, and have some good conversations. So letter came out, and this is something that we've been looking at doing for a while. We probably would have done it in September 2020, but because of the circumstances around the original lockdown, we thought it best to delay the process. So compulsory from September. Little changes that we're going to make is the jumper. We're changing the tie, the different colours of the tie. That is to identify for certain year groups. We're changing the skirts. The reason why we change the skirt is sometimes when we look out on the yard, if you lined up 10 girls in one row, and even the same with boys as well, if you lined up the 10 boys, grades just have so many different shades, it's untrue. And also so many different types of skirt you can get. Not that I'm an expert in that, but you know, there's lots of different types and lots of different shadings. So we thought go for one skirt, one that's unique to us, makes the uniform look really smart. You can't get in any different colours or types. So that is the skirt that we're going for. Black pants for the boys again, so we don't get the 10 different types of shadings, and black socks. And we made that black socks when I was doing the uniform with these two lovely students that we got modelling the uniform here. The girl had some white socks on, and we put the uniform on, and it just didn't look right. She said, "Sir, it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good." That I said, "Well, yeah, I tried them black socks on." And she said, "Hey, that looks miles better." And everybody else agreed as well. So we're going for the black socks with the uniform next year. We're going to phase the blazer in. You will not have to buy the blazer straight away. Okay, we're aware that you may well have bought a blazer, and blazers can last a good 18 months. So if your child has still got a blazer in it, well, that will still fit them in September. That's fine. That's not a problem. We don't want you to repurchase one yet. When your child needs a new blazer, ideally, I was thinking that, you know, the majority of you will be ready to change that blazer due to the growth or the fact that it's had a good wear and tear. That come January, potentially you'll be looking for 2022. You'll be looking for a new blazer. So that's where we're looking for phasing that in. The other phased is the PE kit. There's some really smart gear, and I've got to say, one of the reasons why we've changed to this, couple of reasons why we've changed to this provider, is the quality of it is really, really good. The quality of the blazer actually a really smart blazer jacket, and very much so that you get with a suit. So the pockets are a lot smarter, the buttons are a lot smarter, and the quality, when you feel the quality of this blazer compared to the blazer we've had previously, a lot better quality. So I'm hoping that it lasts a lot longer for you as well. And the same with the PE kit. It's dry fit tops, good quality. So again, with cotton polo shirts, they trap in sweat, whereas this one wouldn't trap in the sweat. It's dry fit, proper stuff that you would use in PA. And then finally, just a couple. I'll miss. You can move on. That's fine. And one thing that this provider does do is you order it. It's all online based, so you order it and it'll arrive at your door. So you don't need to trek all the way to Molly's in Warden, get 5 buses or whatever you need to do. You can order it online and it'll come delivered to your door. And also I believe that they are looking at for September is to start like a payment system as well. So you can get a payment system through them. So I'm really looking forward to this, and the students that I've spoken to are really looking forward to these changes as well. Miss, could you just knock off the next one? A little bit of a price list. Now this is coming out this week. Miss, you've put on me surprise to everybody. Take that surprise off. There we go. Yeah. Right. The price list, and I'm getting a price list out to you and with a full pictures of each type of items that you can buy, and there's compulsory items on there. There's also extra items. There's a really nice, and we're going to get some for SLT as well. There's some really nice jackets that you can get for over the P top for when it's cold. Really nice sport jackets. So we're going to get some for SLT. They're really nice, but they're not compulsory. That is an extra. So this is the price list, and I believe from speaking to some of the parents as well on the phone is that actually the prices that this company are doing are a little bit cheaper compared to the other provider that we've previously had. So that's good news. But as a little bit surprised now, I was going to do a drum roll and everything, but it's been there. Go on, miss, move us on. There we go. So support, we are aware that, you know, financially, you know, it's a difficult time, and also any changes to uniforms does bring financial difficulty. So what we're going to do, we are going to purchase a tie for all our current year 7s to 10s, because year 11s won't need one. So year 7s to 10s, current year 7s to 10s, we will purchase them a new tie for September. And then what we'll also do is provide you through the company online, we will provide you with a £15 voucher to be spent, because we were working it out around how what we've introduced with the extra costs around making the jumper compulsory and changing the skirt. We felt that there was a need to provide you with a bit of support for that to help you purchase them items. So I hope you could agree with us that the uniform looks a hell of a lot smarter. I know quality wise it's a lot better, and hopefully the support we put in place will help you to purchase them items for September. So I am going to send out a new letter this week with that booklet on with the information, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to phone me at school or drop me an email and I'll answer them, not a problem. All right.